Morning. Good morning. Waiting for a few folks to log in. So if you're viewing this later, you know why there's a period of silence. Might be the shortest what the word will do I ever do because I was out Tuesday and Wednesday this week at a conference, a leadership summit, um, being invested into, and also had the opportunity to invest into other pastors. And so I had communicated with the church that I will be out Tuesday and Wednesday, and I think people think I'm out Thursday because I'm not seeing anyone logging in at this point, which is okay. So I'm going to make this the shortest one ever. If you happen to tune into this, I'm going to share one phrase with you. And I'm thankful for the faithfuls that when I'm here, when they know I'm here, this is still the reason I keep doing this through the whole pandemic is because we have such a great turnout. So I'm not seeing anyone logged in at this point, and I'm saying this for those who may log in later or see this as it's aired on our. I see one logged in, but I'm sharing a statement. Here we go. Here's what it says. I got this from the Leadership Summit with IBSA, which is Illinois Baptist State Association, and that was up in Springfield, Illinois. Beautiful city, by the way. Had my first opportunity to kind of drive around the city. Been up there several times now. Finally went downtown on inauguration day. As you can imagine, I saw our military and police everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Good morning, Carla. Hey, since you're the only one logged in, oh, some people are starting to log in, but we need to set up a meeting, Carla, about missions. So I'll try to give you a call, if not today, first part of next week, and we need to get together. But here's, we were Steve Rhodes was our main speaker up at the Leadership Summit this year, and I'm going to get some information together for all of our leaders in the church to go and listen to this summit. And I hope that some already did. I haven't heard of anybody at this point, but how important this was. Appreciate the leadership and the cooperative program and the investment that we make into our state, and then they do that to give back to churches and build and train leaders. They feel at this time in history right now, their main objective is to pour into leaders and developing leaders, and that's other pastors. And so, not only did they pour into us, but they allowed us to pour into other pastors. And so, I appreciated that um, time to be able to speak to other pastors that tuned into my segment. But I mean, we are in unprecedented times, and if we've ever needed some clarity, if our church needs to rally around anything, have the unity that it will take to move forward, telling you, if you can go back and log on to ibsa.org, and I don't know when they're going to have that all put together and available. It may be available as early as this morning to go back and listen to these sessions. You can even listen to my session. I hope that you do, especially if you're one of our church family. But to listen to Steve Rhodes and what he did, I mean, is unbelievable. Um, and there's a tremendous partnership with his ministry and IBSA, in fact, the whole Southern Baptist denomination, and what they're doing, training leaders. The need of the hour is to grow believers and for churches to understand. We have churches that come from all different age groups. I mean, I let's be honest. Some folks are, they're just kind of they're just kind of married to philosophy, the way we act, and even dress that was in the 80s, maybe 70s, 80s, others 80s, 90s, others 90s, 2000. And where are we today? And how do we? And not that these are bad things at all, but how do we take all these different church philosophies, right, and gather that around the singular mission we have in light of all that is changing, not only because of COVID, but COVID has just kind of, a stamp on all the change that's been taking place. And how do we come out of this thing united? If we think things are going to have to be the way they've always been, we're going to be in real trouble. But we need to do what we've always been asked to do. How's that sound? And so there's so much I can say, and I wasn't planning on this morning necessarily, but I just thought, watch, I'd share one phrase, and it's kind of cheap because there's so many, but there's not enough context that I can build this morning around to understand some of the phrases that really jumped out to me. I mean, I take wonderful notes, scrupulous notes, and that's just the way I am. And I got so much, and I thought, well, this morning let me just share something that stood out. Well, without teaching the lesson, some of these quotes may not be as impactful, but I think this one's just timeless. Jesus teaches the way to get to everyone everywhere to start with someone, but we need to start with someone somewhere. Again, Jesus teaches the way to get to everyone everywhere to start with someone somewhere. And there's a wonderful paradigm and that we used. It's that of a house, and I look forward to using this with our leaders. It's been around a while, but um, so and I may even do that on a Tuesday and Thursday. I think if I can do that in my office, I'm from my home office this morning, getting ready to head into the church. But I think if I can get my home office and get a whiteboard to write on, I might set up my camera in such a way that I can teach this and show our folks something that I think will really revolutionize our thinking in light of Jesus and this upper room and lower room mentality that we have in churches. So much of what we do is in the lower room, programs and other things. And so you can imagine what we do in the upper room or in the lower room where so much of our church takes place. And so if you can imagine a house, a two-story house, and a stairway going up to an upper room, but in that lower room, so much of what we do um, is in the lower room. And if we have an unhealthy focus on the lower room where programs and so many things take place, when something like COVID hits, it rocks our world because we can't do things in the lower room. But where did Jesus spend his time? Jesus spent his time in the upper room. And when it was all said and done, when Jesus's earthly ministry was all said and done, how many people did he really invest with in the upper room? Where well, for sake of time, I won't get into what I was just thinking. I'll come back to that thought, but only 120 people. Only 120 people. You know, where an upper room is the upper room mentality transcends COVID, politics, and persecution. It's me kind of adding a few things in here, but think about what if we were persecuted? Everything in the lower room that we idolize and are so worried about, consumed with, you know, um, programs over people, thinking that we'll get more people if we just have better and more programs. Um, or necessarily, and I'm not saying this just because I've worn jeans a few times, but so many people worried about how we dress. But if we were under persecution and we had to be the church, could we still be the upper room church with 120? Absolutely. Does it matter how you dress? Does it matter what programs you have? No, because all those things would become obsolete with persecution, as we see around the world. And yet, how do places like China continue to grow and thrive? And other places in the world, third world countries and Muslim countries, how does the gospel continue to thrive? When there's such persecution, when they don't have the programs and they're not worried about all the things that we worry about in church. But I think what we're seeing is the rubber meets the road. It's challenging to us right now as Christians because we're being forced to deal with the past and what do we let go of? What do we keep? And that's creating frustration in a lot of Christians, isn't it? This is me ad-libbing from just what I've gotten from this IBSA. By the way, every single pastor is right where I'm at. Every pastor in our Salem South Baptist Association is right where I'm at, what I'm saying. I'm telling you, as pastors and leaders in the church, we got to be concerned with this. So when I say Jesus teaches the way to get to everyone everywhere, we need to start with someone somewhere, right? And actually, the way I wrote it was Jesus teaches the way to get to everyone everywhere to start with someone somewhere. And that's why I've said, and If we don't invest in people's lives and teach them the way, one on one, Jesus had his 12, and even in his 12, he had a Judas, right? He had problems with the 12. But if we, and that's the upper room mentality. I'm life on life. When I'm doing ministry, as Jesus taught me to do ministry, it's life on life. It's in a living room, it's in a coffee. It's not just a small group where we sit and we get lectured to like we do on Sundays. Let me get another Bible lesson. It's not bad. But if it isn't life on life, we're not the churches are dying everywhere because people are doing things that they think are noble and right, but it's not the upper room mentality. We've got to get people away from lower room to upper room, and there's so many different ways to do that. It's unbelievable. It's wonderful, the uniqueness and the variety God gives each and every one of us to use to be able to do that. But anyway, that's just a little snapshot from my time at IBSA, and I'm these are things I've already been doing in our church. We have people who are discipling and doing groups, and not just, but they're helping doing life. They're helping people grow and walk, and I think just about every group we have, is invested in this in some way, no doubt, and it's growing, and so that's a great thing. So be encouraged this morning, but just think about that. Meditate upon Jesus in his upper room. By the time it was all said and done, there were just 120 people that were invited and operated out of that upper room, and because he talked to the thousands. Boy, he focused on the 120. But you know what? Let's just say he focused on that 12, which ended up being 11. But that 11, that 120, however you want to look at it, I mean, it changed the world. And we're going to change the world. We're going to change our community. We're going to change our church, one person, few people at a time, that buy into not just doing things the way we've always done it and thinking that's spirituality. That might just be religion. But saying, you know what? Everything needs to be a catalyst to helping me grow, encourage others, and walk alongside others and do life with them. Jesus did life with the 120, mainly the 11, the 12, but there was 120 that eventually where we see them all over where Jesus was, they were there. And, not a lot is said, but um, anyway, I hope that makes sense this morning. Clear in my head, trying to make it clear for you. Well, I need to at least talk about it and then come back and talk about it some more, and hopefully that'll begin to sink in. Great to see some folks tuning in this morning, and love you guys, praying for you, and um, I looking forward to this weekend. And we'll get back to our Proverbs study here next week. And who knows, maybe rabbit trail again, and we'll just kind of keep coming back to Proverbs and make our way through. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I hope you're blessed this morning. Think about that this morning. Think about what I've said. That you can do a lot of great things and you can be invested in a lot of great activities. But if you don't have people in your life that you say, these are my disciples, this is my congregation in a sense. These are the people that I am to pastor. I think everybody's called. Once you're a Christian, you're to pastor somebody. You say, well, I'm not really pastoring anybody. I'm just simply doing a lot. Listen, I'm telling you, because I love you and I don't know any other way to say it. And I'm a little more candid, maybe on Thursday mornings as I should be. Um, you're missing it. Those are good things you're doing. Those are great and noble things, and they're a blessing to so many people who are you're encouraging the folks. But listen, don't neglect your high calling to be a pastor, a preacher, to somebody that you can invest in and work with and help them grow and walk and navigate life. And then tell them, hey, I'm doing this because I love you, but the goal is that when I'm done, you're going to do this with somebody else. And we'll still meet, and I'll meet with somebody else, and you're going to meet with somebody. And we'll get together and see how it's going while we're meeting with other people. It may be one person at a time, or it may be a group of three at a time. The goal is not simply Bible study, it is sharing the word of God and then helping to navigate that word in their life, through their life and their actions. They can open up with you and share their faults and their failures and their struggles, and you can gently and tenderly, like Jesus did for years with his disciples. He brought them from the point. When you think about Jesus' ministry, he took them to the point where, I love this, they just simply followed Jesus and watched Jesus and said, Jesus is the bomb diggity. I am just so happy to be a part of all that Jesus is doing. Woohoo! But what did Jesus do? He transitioned. He was discipling them. He transitioned and said, you know what? Now I want you to go do it. And he gave them permission to fail. He gave them permission to succeed. He gave them permission to be frustrated, to be overwhelmed, and to come back with him with questions. And he would encourage them. He'd send them back out. He didn't just let them follow him and he was the hero. He said, I'm not the hero. You be the heroes. I'm teaching you. You go be the heroes in people's lives. You go give them the gospel. And so Paul had his Timothy. Every single Christian should have their Timothy, per se. Those who are in the faith know what I'm talking about. You're to have that disciple. And then when that disciple goes out and becomes the pastor and leader of other churches himself, Paul continued to encourage him, but Paul had other men he brought into his life and was doing the process all over again. His influence spread. Every Christian is called to that. But why do Christians fight it? Why is it such a struggle? Why do they get so aggravated when pastors get up there and try to encourage them? Because they just want to be the people behind going, yay, our hero is the pastor, our hero is Jesus. We know what Jesus did, don't we? He eventually said, here you go. And he did it in stages, didn't he? Come follow me. Okay, watch me. Now you go do it. Not too much. Okay, no, fully. Go do it, Jesus. Let him do it. And then, the very last, before he ascends to heaven, he says, gives him the Great Commission, and he says, and now it's all on you. And go do what I've done. And they knew what that meant. They didn't have a lot of questions. They knew what that meant. That meant I got to do exactly what Jesus showed me to do. And I tell you, every single believer is called to do that. And that's what is revolutionary. And that's why churches in other countries under persecution where the church thrives, because it is life on life. We and our culture have made it about what we wear, what we sing, what the building looks like, how wonderful is the entertainment, how and on and on and on it goes. And if everything was stripped away, and maybe I think this might be the beginning of that. And there may be days of plenty ahead where true churches are going to get this and adapt, and others aren't. And when persecution comes, they're going to be wiped out. And the ones that took this and understood what God was doing will be prepared to be successful and to grow. I did not mean for this to be that. I was actually going to do Proverbs this morning. And then when I first got on, didn't see anybody logged in. I thought, well, maybe because I wasn't here Tuesday and Wednesday, they thought I wasn't doing it. So let me just share this one little quote, which I said, Jesus teaches the way to get to everyone everywhere, to start with someone, but to start with someone somewhere. I thought that's all I'll do, and then somebody will get it at some point. Now I see I've got several viewers. So listen, go tell others. Listen to what Pastor had to say this morning. You need to tune in to what he said here on January 21st on a Thursday morning. Like, go listen to that because it's a simple message. I'm busting a lot of information out quick, but this is where we are. So God bless you. I pray this encourages you and you're not alone. And if you're like, yeah, that's what I want to do, come talk to me. I will help equip you and disciple you and walk with you to walk with somebody else and encourage you as you're doing it. And pretty soon you'll be off doing it and teaching others how to do it. Who knows? Maybe we'll invite you to the Leadership Summit. You can come up with me and I'll invite you to have part of my time in the future. Say, let me tell you how this person in my church adopted, the message and how they've done it. And I can bring up a live illustration. That would be cool, huh? That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, God bless you. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday morning as we start a new series on prayer. So it's going to be a good Sunday. All right.